Great. Well, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. My name is Anton Goodman. I'm the Director of Partnerships at Rabbis for Human Rights. And you're joining us, and many of you know this from the field as well, at the end of a very difficult and very violent olive harvest. We're going into our last week of activities at the moment, or formal. I'm sure there'll be a couple more places that we will add in weeks after that have been missed. But this week is the last week that we're really going out in an intense way to the ground. And as you've either seen from the ground or from the media or heard from friends, this olive harvest has had unprecedented violence, but really a window into the accelerated violence we've seen before the harvest as well. For the last 2 years, we have seen a very high level of extremist violence towards Palestinian farmers, often directed towards shepherding communities in a very intense way throughout the year, with the aim of expelling them from their lands. This is something that we're seeing and that we're dealing with. And as we encounter the violence on the ground, we always make sure to share with our activists and everyone coming with us that ours is a non-violent action. And when we're asked, where does that come from? We often look to our Jewish sources and faith as a rabbinic organization. And we're reminded that King David, who is thought to be, one of the heroes of Jewish history, he was judged not to be worthy to or able to build the temple because he had blood on his hands. And instead, Solomon was chosen to build the temple. And this is significant to us because when you're creating something spiritual, then it's important to have the right intentionality and the right action towards it. And as it says in the book of Zechariah about the building of the temple, Lo b'chayil, lo b'koach, ki im beruchi, not through power, not through force, but through my spirit. And to me, that's a theological basis for nonviolence. But I have to say that our nonviolent activism is far from a written policy or a professionalized practice. And so for that reason, we invited Aviv Tatarsky, I always say your surname wrong, I'm sorry, who is a veteran activist, someone much respected in the field, through his work in Dharma, work around Jerusalem and Wallachia. And we're really lucky to have Aviv with us this evening to do this special training about nonviolence at a time of very high violence. Aviv, thank you so much for being with us and for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Anton, and Rabbis for Human Rights for all the work and also taking the time and effort to organize these webinars, which allow us to a little bit maybe reflect or study together, and of course for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share or to share with all of you. So I'm very happy to be here. My name is Aviv. I'm located in Jerusalem. And over the past 15 years, most of my grassroots activism is in the West Bank with a small group, not even an organization, small group of Israeli activists by the name of Engage Dharma Israel. So like just as Anton mentioned, of course, we know about Rabbis for Human Rights, that the justice and human rights work is based on religious and spiritual practice. The same is for us, as it's coming from Buddhist Dharma practice. So that's another reason why it's very nice to be here. And we are not an organization. We're a small group of volunteers. We work mainly with 2 villages. Those of you who know the West Bank, one village is Deir Istia, not far from Salfit, and actually Rabbis for Human Rights also arrived there. And another is right next to Jerusalem, called Wallachia. I think what I will have to say or to share with you, naturally, it's based on my experience. experience mainly in those two villages. I hope to be able to speak like, I don't know, 25 minutes plus minus. And that should leave us a considerable amount of time for not only questions, but any comments or anything we want to discuss together. Okay. And as the theme, the subject is de-escalation, and as Anton rightly mentioned, the violence in the West Bank is just soaring and breaking records. So one thing, it's not a matter of being modest. It's the truth. It's not that any of us have any answer that will solve this issue of I'm in a confrontation in a situation that can get violent or is violent, and let's do 1, 2, 3, and we'll be okay. We unfortunately we don't have those answers, and I think even for the most skilled people, um, it always depends on the situation. What is the right thing to do? There's a lot of uncertainty. The way things will develop, will work, depends on so many factors. Who our group is, who are the people that we're confronting, what's the area, and so many things. So I think the first thing to be aware of is that we choose to enter a situation of uncertainty, and if there is if at all there is any guideline, it's better to be cautious. Okay, maybe there are things which can work, but if they don't work, there's more of a danger. So I really have to take that into consideration. And do I want to take the risk, or maybe I should do something that I know is less risky. Okay, so that's one thing which I'll try to make more concrete soon. And another, once we say, okay, there are things we can do to de-escalate the situation, it means that that we are part of what is happening and we impact what is happening. This means also that I can do things that aggravate the situation. Okay, maybe I don't want to, but I might do them. So one of the things that very much helps me in order to at least try not to aggravate the situation is remember very, very, very well what is my purpose. Okay. It's maybe it seems quite simple, but you can think those of us who participated in a olive harvest in the West Bank, or if your activism is different or in different fields and so on, and you arrive at the field, and what is your purpose? Each one of us can give their own answer. But for example, for me on an olive harvest, thanks, yeah, Mary. I probably on my top priority will be that the farmers I'm accompanying can harvest as many olives as possible. Okay, it doesn't have to be like this for always for everyone. Yeah, maybe we want to raise awareness to the injustice. Okay, it's a bit different than getting olives harvested. Maybe we want to challenge some policy. Okay, so there can be different answers. But why am I stressing this? That it's really important to remember what is my purpose is that because in a situation of confrontation, it's very activating, it's very triggering. Okay, I will easily become reactive. Okay, when I'm confronted by aggression, either verbal or bodily, or if it gets physical, I react. And for me to maybe be less reactive and more responsive, do it less in an automatic way and more in a way that at least I'm acting according to what I think will be helpful. It's really important that all the time I remember, I am here in order to, okay? Okay. That's why I'm stressing it. And having said that, this brings two challenges, at least. One is that it's okay to say what I just said, but when things are happening and they're happening quickly, and maybe I get frightened because there's a threatening behavior, maybe I get angry, all kinds of things can swell up inside. It can be difficult to remember my purpose. So it's very good. I find it very helpful to prepare myself at the beginning of the day, on the ride to the village, to the field, to take time to remind myself, okay, this is my intention for the day. I know because I know myself, because of previous instances. I know how it can be triggering, and how I can become reactive. I will aim to remember. I will aim maybe to come back to my body, come back to my breath, in order to relax, even in situations that are intense, that are creating tension in my body and my mind. Okay, so this is one thing. Like, how can I prepare myself towards the situation? I believe it's very important. The other is in my eyes more tricky or trickier, because of course I'm part of a group, and maybe we don't all have the same purpose. Okay, if we're a bunch of people, and especially in the way that Rabbi for Human Rights work, that allow so many people to join and so many people to participate. And of course, it's people who do not necessarily know each other from before. People come with their expectations, with their experience, with their personalities, and so on. Okay. So this is something that depends on how the group works and so on. But it will be good if we can be aware of our purposes, if we can all agree on a purpose. Okay, and maybe a practical way to deal with that is that we understand that in the group there are people who have responsibility, who maybe have experience, and we allow them to lead the situation. Okay, and being those, especially in the challenging situations, who have to take decisions, like where is now the right thing to do is to step forward and confront people who are coming to disturb us, or maybe the right thing to do is to step back, or how to go about it. Yeah, of course, it's a very challenging task. It's very important. Actually, no less important is to support these people. Okay, so those of you who may be in a responsibility position, I'm sure you have your own experience, your own expertise. Maybe I don't have much like to say that will be new to you. But those of us who are less experienced, we do not have to think that okay, if others are leading, or if I'm not too sure about what's the right thing to do, is that I have no part here. The only thing I can do is pick olives or wait until wait until the tension diffuses. No, it's very good to be attentive, to allow the others in my group, including those so-called leaders, to feel my support, to feel my that I'm able to remain calm in the situation, position myself in a way that I can see what's happening. Okay. And many times we will focus on, I don't know, there's one person who's or a few people who are shouting at us, who are being aggressive, and naturally our attention narrows down on them. If I can keep my awareness a bit wider, I might notice a few more things. Okay. Um, and then, okay, now what can be done? So, admittedly, today those who are waging violence in the West Bank, violence against Palestinians, one, they really know why they're doing it. They have a purpose. It's not that they're just angry. It's not that they're just annoyed. The violence is a way to push people out, to prevent them from being in a certain place, and to make them very, very frightened, that so that they don't want to come back. Okay. So it's when there's such a clear, focused purpose behind violence, it's more difficult to impact people so that they do not act violently. And of course, we unfortunately they enjoy impunity. So they're much less frightened, they're much less restrained regarding the consequences of their violence. Okay, so it is a very challenging situation, but let's not forget that we have an impact on the situation. So, speaking in a calm voice, we don't necessarily need to be friendly, but I also don't need to be aggressive myself. Okay, and again, it's very difficult. Yeah, someone is shouting at me, and I have all kinds of ideas about them, but they're settlers, they're nationalistic, they're whatever runs in your mind. They're racist, they're fascist, whatever. Um, I, I, as much as I can, without being naive, to let go of these preconceptions, and to let the situation be as fresh, or myself to be as fresh as possible. Someone here wrote in the chat that just being present can be powerful. So it's good if you have this understanding or this experience. Then it can really help you, and it might impact things. I mean, those of us who have been in these situations, I think we have all kinds of instances that nothing we did helped, but also that yes, my tone of voice, my body language, the way I moved, did have an impact. So believe that, and then you can try. And of course, we don't know. Maybe it will not work. Maybe things will not de-escalate. Maybe they will escalate. Okay. So also something very important is that I do not have to do anything that I don't feel comfortable with. Okay. Or maybe, there's an exception to the rule. And again, Anton said it straight in the beginning, be it rabbis for human rights, be it, I believe, all the Israeli human rights activists here, we act non-violently. So probably the only thing that we're committed to, we will not be violent ourselves. But apart from that, I don't have to be brave. I don't have to succeed in doing anything. If I feel that that I'm too stressed out, that I feel very, very uncomfortable, that it's not I don't feel well. I don't want to be where I am. It's very good. It's very okay to step back. Okay, for example, and I don't need to worry that, oh, maybe something will not happen. Maybe I'm not I don't know, stepping up to the task, to the challenge. There are others in the group that maybe for they are okay with the situation. They can deal with it, and it's very fine if I need to step back, that I do that. Maybe if I really need to go far away, I will go far away. But maybe it will be enough for me to take 3 steps back or 10 steps back, and I can still be part of the situation and either give some form of support or at least observe it and learn and maybe next time I will be in a different situation, and it's really fine. And this is the one of the advantages of being part of the group. I don't have to do everything. It's not that everything depends on me. Okay. So, and as a group, it's very important that we give this permission and that we are flexible enough, okay, for for different people to act and to position themselves in different ways. Again, maybe I see that something is happening that is not conducive. For example, one of my partners in the group, one of my friends, maybe I don't know, they shout at whoever is coming to us. Okay, and sometimes this can be the right thing to do. Sometimes this can deter or make those who want to confront us. Maybe it can make them freeze. But if I feel that no, this is just aggravating the situation, then it's very good. It's very okay that I turn to my friend and I help him or her calm down. Okay, I don't have to tell them off. That's not the point. But we can remind each other. This is a very stressful situation. Let's relax. Okay, it's not helping if we ourselves get agitated. Okay, so remembering that as well. How can I help others in the group? Maybe they're very stressed, they're very scared. How can I give them confidence, give them assurance? Or maybe they're getting overheated, and how can I help them to relax? I can do it with my hand on their back. I can do it with a few soft words. Okay, so helping each other. Most of the things you're writing in the chat, I don't see. I'm not able to to speak and read at the same time. So if I miss something important, I will soon stop and we can discuss together. But I did see one of the comments was about photographing and videos that they're a form of protection. It's many times true. Okay, so it's important that a couple of us do video the situation. It's also very important after the situation, if we need for whatever, be it because we need to go to the police, be it to protect ourselves, that we cannot be accused of things, be it if we want to go to the media and we want to raise awareness. So of course, this is very important, and we should know that some of us are doing it. And yes, sometimes it will also cause those who are confronting us to restrain themselves. We do need to take into account that exactly because of the power of the video, those of us who are filming can become targets themselves. Okay, either because those that are coming, they do not want to be documented, videoed. So the first thing they go at is the camera or the person who is holding it, or because they get pissed off. Okay, so it's very good if there can be also people who are maybe guarding those who are filming. Okay, and this is again an important point because videos are so important. And once something is caught on video, maybe it's shared and maybe it's in the newspaper or it's in social media and so on. So holding the camera and doing the video is everyone will consider it very, very important. And then if I am supposedly not doing anything, I'm just standing next to the person who are videoing, yeah, it's supposedly I'm not doing anything, and at the end of the day, I will not get any credit, and so on and so on. But it can be extremely important, yeah. If I'm the person who is guarding the guy with the camera, that because they are filming, maybe they cannot notice someone coming from the side and coming at them, but I'm there and I can either intervene or I can pull them away or whatever. Okay, so extremely important. And many times I find that the people in the so-called second row can be I don't know if more important, but no less important than the people in the first row. Okay, so really allow yourself that position. Video, yeah. Okay, like this, I don't know how helpful it will be what I'm saying, but I think it's something to think of. The other side of the importance of the video is that everyone is videoing. Okay, so maybe there's 10 cameras there, and I'm not sure how much that is needed. Okay, so maybe it doesn't cause so many problems. But I think for the situation to be less chaotic and for us to be able to notice more things and so on, it is something good that we know these are the people who are videoing, and those who are not. Again, we can be aware of what's happening and find, okay, what can I contribute? What can I do? Now, there's a big difference, and I didn't mention it at all until now. There's a big difference regarding who is coming at us. Are they younger? And today it can also be teenage settlers. Are they older? Are they armed? Are they not armed? Are they civilian? Are they soldiers? Okay, so let's start with soldiers. Okay, there is nothing is always true. Nothing is true 100%. But I find that very often, soldiers still operate according to some rules. Okay, not according to the law, but according to some rules, which means that with soldiers, it can be a little bit less dangerous. Okay, they will not start beating us without prior notice. They will, they're, yeah. I mean, again, everything is dangerous, and there have been things that prove that what I just said is not true. But still, with soldiers, there will be many times there will be the opportunity to negotiate, even to argue. Okay, so this is something very important to use, and how on the one hand I can be assertive, I can insist. Okay, and on the other hand, that this insistence doesn't aggravate things. Okay, so again, I really have to know what I'm doing. Like I don't necessarily need to tell the soldiers that they are war criminals. Okay, not sure how helpful it will be. Again, it all depends on what is our purpose. Okay, but let's say, for example, that the purpose is to that the farmers can complete a day of harvest. Then not probably to tell the soldiers what I think of them or the bad things that I think of them is not necessarily helpful. On the other hand, they may be saying, you're not allowed to be here, you have to go. and they may be saying it not politely. Okay, so then it's very important to argue about that. Okay. And no, I think I can be here. Why are you saying that? What's the basis? Why are you saying that I cannot be here? Okay. So on the one hand, I don't accept what the soldiers may be saying, the orders they will be giving, the supposedly factual claims that they say, you're not allowed to film me, you're not allowed to be here, the Palestinians are not allowed to be here. Yeah, so I can question everything, anything. And on the other hand, do it in a calm way, do it in a way that does not turn the soldier to be even more reactive than they are, so that they just kick us out. Okay. And again, as a small example, but I find it very practical. For me, I don't know, my tendency, my pattern is the soldier will tell me you're not allowed to be here, and I will react and say, no, I'm actually I can be here. You're wrong. Okay. The times that I'm able, instead of saying that I'm able to say, why am I not allowed to be here? Please explain. Please show me. Please prove that I'm not allowed to be here. Actually, those times are more effective than me just saying, no, you're wrong. Okay. So one, it's maybe you can use it as a tip. Remind yourselves to ask questions instead of just to answer back. But two, also it's the broader issue of I have my reactions, and if I have enough awareness, if I remember myself enough, I might be able, instead of reacting, I might be able to act in a different way. For example, to ask a question, which will be more effective. Sometimes, be it that the negotiation or the argument with the soldiers has exhausted itself and didn't succeed in making them step back, and we feel that the situation is becoming more dangerous, that there is some risk that the soldiers will push us, will fire throw stun grenades, sorry, or fire tear gas or whatever. Or that these are not soldiers, these are civilians, and they are very angry, and they really want to use violence and so on. It's very important that we assess when is the right time to step back, okay, to prevent the violence, okay, or to prevent ourselves from being attacked. And here again, I will repeat a few things that I said, but I think it's important enough to repeat them. There's always uncertainty. I never know when they're going to start to lash out. And I can think, okay, maybe it's too soon, maybe it's too early, maybe I should still insist. But at a certain point, especially if I feel that I need to be responsible for others in the group to that they don't get hurt, it's better not to take the risk, and it's better to leave earlier than we had to, than to stay too long and that someone will be beaten up. Okay, so if I begin to have doubt, is it safe to stay or not safe to stay? Maybe it means that we have to leave. And the other thing is that different people in the group will begin to feel danger at different times. Okay, if I'm more used to the situation, maybe I know, or I can handle it longer. And people who are newer or just have a different character than myself, different I don't know, tendencies than myself, for them it will be too much. Okay, so there needs to be this awareness, and again the flexibility that some of us can step back, some of us can stay. If that is not something good, maybe there's not enough of us, or any other reason that we cannot split, then we should go by, I believe at least, that we should go by those of us who say, okay, enough is enough. Let's step back. Okay, so it's not those of us who I don't know how to call it, who are tougher, who are less stressed. We are not the ones who should make these decisions for the rest of the group. We should always pay attention for those of us who maybe for them it's too much, and it's time to step back. And before there's many more things to say, and we can speak about them together. But before I open it for the things you may want to add or to ask, even today that we have all heard, and some of us have experienced, unfortunately, like how violent things can be. Even today, there will be many situations where when civilians come, when settlers come, it doesn't become physical straight away. Which means that again, I am impacting the situation. And the combination of, on the one hand, being confident, being assertive, and on the other hand, remaining calm, is the best strategy that we can have in order to, on the one hand, keep our ground, and the other hand, hopefully, like they will not lose it. They will not get heated up, and come and try to use violence. Okay. Okay, this is certainly not everything that there is to say, but we have quite a lot of time. Anton, until when are we doing the session? Until what hour?
Well, I think that this is a great time to move across to the more of a discussion. And what I'd suggest is maybe I'll remove the spotlight and just create a gallery.
Great.
So there we go. And so we can have a little bit of a conversation. I want to thank you for sharing a lot of things that I found helpful and thought-provoking. And I see that there's already a really good question I see in the chat that just popped up from Radia. And Radia, I don't know if you want to ask it yourself, but you wrote it beautifully here. You want me to, do you want to unmute and share it?
Okay. Sorry. Hi. Thank you so much for that, Aviv. It was really enlightening for me. So I guess my question was how we can be mindful of the primacy of the Palestinian experience in these situations without deflecting from the protective presence that we're activists are meant to take, and we seem to take. We're the ones who interface with the soldiers or the settlers. So how do we, is that part of the intentionality? Like, I just want to know how you create that primacy still for the Palestinian whose land it is. And
right. Yeah. So it's of course, it's a very important issue, or a very important thing to remember. We can have all kinds of ideas about what's right and wrong, and both in terms of behavior, it's right to say this, it's right to do that, or wrong, and also in terms of things that the purpose and so on. But the farmer we are with, or the farmers we are with, can have a different idea, a different view, and we are guests. It's their land, it's their life, it's their income, it's their everything, their rights that are being infringed upon. So I think we will all agree that, as you said, Radia, that they should take primacy. And then you also add that this is a bit conflicting with the role of protection. Okay, so I can tell you, I don't think it's a universal answer. I don't think it's always the I don't know, solves the issue or the right thing to do, but I can describe how we are doing it. We try to always, assuming that they want, that they don't prefer otherwise, that the farmers lead the situation. Okay, so certainly if it's soldiers that are coming, that the farmer speaks directly with them. And we are part of the situation. We are there. First, our presence is to give assurance to the farmer. It's our presence can also restrain the soldiers. We know that if we are not there, maybe the soldiers will not even bother to discuss anything. They will be very aggressive and violently push the farmer out. But since we're there, they have to speak with him. And maybe at a certain point, we will also choose to intervene. But always make sure that it's okay with the farmer. And then when we feel that there are choices to be made, okay, to continue arguing or not, to step back or not, and so on, I should always check with the Palestinians that are there, that are with, and see what they want. Always taking into account that on the one hand, for them it's more important than for me to harvest the olives, okay, and on the other hand that they are more vulnerable than me, okay. And there too, each farmer has their own character, their own preferences, so there's no one answer. I can tell you one of the things that I feel make it much, I don't know if much, but make it easier for the group I'm part of to handle these situations is that because we are basically working with two communities, the two villages that I mentioned in the beginning, then with most of the farmers that we will be with are people that we know, and some of them we have known for years. So, just like any situation, the first time you interact with someone or you do something with someone, or if you have a relationship and the prior experience of several times or of several years, it's much easier. So this is also something to take into account. And I think ideally, we will all be working in places that we know and with people that we know. Of course, practically speaking, it's not possible, but it's something to remember how helpful that is.
Thanks, Aviv. And I see that Rabbi Regina has her hand up. So please.
Thank you. Thank you, Rav Todot, Aviv and Anton. Mary did post some questions in the chat before. I don't know if you want to take those first.
Oh, we can take your question first and give us a minute to look at the questions in the chat.
Okay.
As well.
I'll buy you some time.
Yeah, I'll take a look now. Thank you.
I'm deeply grateful for this, and I am thinking about the coordination of intentions and want to expand that. This may be beyond this particular training, but it's something that's very, very present for me right now. When you mention documentation, there is a flood of documentation over many years. People are on media overload. And, so I'm wondering, and I am here in the United States on Turtle Island, and our government has just technically opened up, and there is concern across the bipolar aisle for the violence in the West Bank. And I'm wondering if there is a way to kind of coordinate intentions as we center the Palestinian communities on the ground to gather and focus the attention so that people are not focusing on all different kinds of things in terms of the crisis and starting to leverage some of the pressure, which is also a nonviolent tactic of the stakeholders overseas. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but, you know, and I say this, you know, for supporting the folks on the ground, and also the respective powers and lack of powers of Israeli Jewish protective presence activists and international protective presence activists. As we know, 2 were just deported. I hope that was clear.
Thank you for your question. And I asked Aviv to begin responding. And you mentioned a number of things, and I just want to say at the beginning that something that really resonated for me at the beginning of what you were saying was excuse me, I've got a barking. Thank you. About the media overload, is that I felt instinctively, well, I hope that we're not contributing to social media trauma with the amount that we're sharing on social media. And it's just such a toxic tool, but one that we feel we have to use. And so people are experiencing live things that we're all experiencing on the ground as well. Maybe it creates some kind of trauma there as well. And this we have to be more aware of. I think we have to think about this. The second thing that I want to say is that over the past few weeks, we have seen a significant change in the Israeli media coverage of settler violence. Now, we have seen these changes in the past. We have seen peaks in Israeli media at different points. I remember significantly in 2009, the Duma attacks. It was all over. The Israeli media was talking about, cheshbon nefesh, soul searching, and not allowing this to happen again. Of course, the Duma attack being a Molotov cocktail into a family's home when they were sleeping, and three killed, including a baby. But it didn't change things over the long term. It was just a peak. So it's a question: what's happening at the moment with the focus in the Israeli media and also in political discourse about the settler violence? And one of the things that has been especially difficult to navigate has been what has generated this interest has been Israelis being hurt. So, this is very difficult for us. I mean, for me, it's soul destroying, basically, to see in the summer our friend Auda Hathalin being murdered by a settler, and then the settler just walking away from it. And the media coverage only casting dispersion on the character of Auda and suggesting he might be related to Hamas of all things. And suddenly now we have an uptick of interest, both in the Israeli media and on the international arena as well over this. And so firstly, I think I want to relate back to, and I don't know if it's Adia or Gadia, your question. I hope I didn't get your name wrong. But your point about the Palestinian primacy, because what we're experiencing in Israel at the moment is not that. This is quite simply a distorted view from within the media, but at least it's creating more interest. And our policy recommendations and what we're saying across them, all of our advocacy work, is that don't let the West Bank be forgotten in the shadow, in the very dark shadow of the disaster and crisis in Gaza. And we're saying this not in any way to damage the humanitarian response to Gaza, but really not to split the two conversations, because it is part of the same, it's part of the same story. And to split them is basically doing the work of what the right wing here want to do, to divide and conquer. And that's really been the policy throughout Netanyahu's governments, is to divide Gaza and the West Bank. And it's not the right policy. And so to bring the West Bank to the table, to the decision-making table, the international arena, is very important at this time. It's important because also international diplomacy has changed. There's now international intervention in Gaza. It's not just Israel. Israel is a secondary player in Gaza by this stage, if not a tertiary player. And the same could happen to some extent in the West Bank through international pressure. So we're very interested and to hear it's across both sides of the aisle in the United States is very positive. And the United States, in some ways, unfortunate but true, it has more sovereignty here than the Netanyahu's government, which acting a bit like a vassal state. So any pressure from the United States, especially that if it's across the aisle, I think could be very important at this point. And that's really something we'd hand over back to the Americans on this call to say, how do we do that? But I'm sure there's ways that you can reach out to congressmen and people like this. We're in touch with the different parts of the administration, but the US administration is not really a friendly administration to human rights organizations as it has been in the past. So it's a very complicated and murky kind of advocacy. But that's a long answer to a question that's not totally related around nonviolence. It's more around the diplomacy arena. But I want to go back to the nonviolence a bit, Aviv, because I really want to thank you for the training as well. You spoke about a first line and a second line. And I felt like you were also talking a bit about a first line and second line amongst either the soldiers or the violent settlers who are coming in, that there's some who aren't as loud as others, that they might be a more diverse population. One of the ways that we try to engage is through compassion, by not being angry at the individual, but at the rule that the individual is imposing or what they've been brainwashed to do. But I'm wondering, are there ways to get through to people in interactions that are violent, or has all reasoning been lost? Is it a place for a conversation, or is it a place just to de-escalate? And what does that look like? Is there a spectrum? So that's my question for
you. I'm not sure I have an answer. Again, these are very, very challenging situations. Certainly, when things are just at the level of talking, it can be very unpleasant talking. It can be very aggressive. Then I would say definitely let's look if there's 3 soldiers there, if there's 5 settlers there. Let's see if there's someone who seems that our words can impact more than the others. And sometimes this has happened, not necessarily because we were very skillful or very intelligent at doing this, but it can also be by chance. But just as we ourselves are as a group, and there's differences among us, there certainly will be differences between the people who confront us. Once it gets violent, I don't know. I don't have much to say about what kind of impact can be made. Yeah.
Thank you, Aviv. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question or?
So maybe before there are additional questions, I do want to repeat maybe what Mary wrote in the chat, that at least one of the things you wrote is just hugging or listening or debriefing, and let's say at the bus after the activity is very helpful and very, very valuable. I very much agree. Okay, and it's like just like I said, of preparing ourselves before the activity starts, or in the first part of the activity, then certainly this form of speaking, sharing, reflecting after, if we can do it, it's very, very important. And what I want to add to this is that we should remember that whatever activity we are participating in, it's never just a one time, like a secluded occurrence. Okay, we will probably continue and come to more activities. Certainly, the group we are part of has done things before and will continue after. So there is both in terms of our learning and our ability to act more effectively, more efficiently. We can always learn, either learn and become and next time do it better, or maybe we create maybe unhelpful patterns and start acting in ways maybe that are less constructive. So it's very important to remember that we are in this for a very, very long time. Certainly, in terms of the damage of escalation, the prices that we pay. Of course, I want to take care of myself so that even if there was a confrontation, even if I was afraid, even if there was violence, that I will be able to return and to continue to be engaged and to do it in a way that is wholesome, that is not destructive for myself. Okay, so in that sense, it's not only like what am I going to do now that there is some confrontation and what's the best thing to do right now. It's also to remember that this is something that's very, very long. We're going to continue again and again and again. So what do I have to learn? How can I take care of myself for the future? How can I take care of my partners? How can the group take care of itself? So even if we don't have the perfect answers or even good enough answers for what's happening right now, we can always offer things that will allow us to recover and to continue and even to learn for the future activities.
Thanks, Aviv. Do you want to take a couple of questions from the chat? We had from Mary a bit higher up. Does anyone in military green uniform have the right to demand ID from the civilian protective presence people?
Okay, that's an excellent question. I'll give you an example, something that happened for us just in this harvest season. We had a discussion about this question, and one of my friends was very confident and said, no, they don't have any right to demand IDs. And then a week later, we were in the field, and there we were mainly Israelis, but we were of course with one Palestinian farmer, and then soldiers arrived and they wanted everyone's ID. And my habit, my pattern is to, yeah, you want my ID, take my ID. Well, what do I care? But there was the Palestinian with us, and I didn't know what would happen if he would give his ID and so on. And I remembered my friend saying we don't have to give IDs. So I acted in a very confident way. Again, this balance, this dance between being assertive but being polite. And said, no, why do you want our IDs? If if we did something wrong, or if you suspect us of doing anything, you please tell us what the issue is, and if you have a reason, we will give you our IDs. And the soldiers argued with us, and I continued arguing with them like that. And supposedly they can do whatever they want. They can force us, and my words don't really have an impact. But we were lucky enough and I did it in a good enough way that they at the end they backed back. They went back. They didn't want the IDs, and they just left. Okay, and the Palestinian man we were with, he was very relieved, and he was very happy that this was what happened, and that he didn't have to give his ID and to explain and to answer questions and whatever, and what would happen afterwards. So after this time, I checked with a lawyer. And she said, no, if soldiers want your ID, they don't have to give you any explanation. And according to the military law, you have to give them your IDs. So this was a case where supposedly the soldiers did not know, that they could do it, and oftentimes they don't know. They say things that really they don't really know the law. And I didn't know, but I was confident enough, and I did it in a good way enough, and we were lucky enough that it could work. So factually speaking, yes, they have a right, and many times they will abuse this right. They will use it in order to hurt us, or certainly to hurt Palestinians. But also we can remember that we can argue. We don't necessarily have to agree. Sometimes it will even work.
I just want to add, Aviv, because our policy is to give IDs when the army asks for them. And I have experience of it actually being a healthier non-violence tool, and can be helpful in them not asking for the Palestinian IDs. When the army asks for your IDs, and I'm very happy to give my ID. And usually that prevents many of the people who are with me to have to give their ID, including the Palestinian farmer. I just say, oh, yeah, of course, have my ID. Maybe there's another person who gives theirs as well, who's standing with the soldiers. And sometimes that's the only IDs they take. And so that sometimes happened. We, as you know, and other people on this call know, we've seen the targeting of international activists. And the two Jewish American women who were deported and received a 10-year entry ban to Israel were working on their appeals now through the court process. And in this case, asking for an ID has a different meaning for three different parties. For the Israeli, they might detain me at some stage, but really the punishment I'm going to get for not breaking the law is very little. But we've now seen that international activists can be targeted. A Palestinian is a different case altogether. And a Palestinian can be detained in a violent way with their eyes covered and their hands ziplocked together and put in the back of a jeep. And I've seen this happen of people who literally have just come to their land. And so we have to be very careful. The atmosphere that we're creating, we've got to be so aware of what we're doing. And that's really why we invited Aviv to give this webinar, to try and raise some of that awareness. And as you said, Aviv, there are no easy answers at the moment. And the situation is pretty dynamic. And in some ways, it feels quite hopeless on the ground. But it's important that we realize we do have agency. And I feel like you've given us some ideas around agency. And it was very special as well to have it from a Dharma perspective. I was imagining you thinking intentionally on your way to Palestinian villages. And this is important for us to hear as well. I really want to thank you for your time. I hope that we can do a similar workshop in person as well in the coming months. And I want to thank everyone who joined the call as well. Everyone made really wonderful input and questions, and it was a lovely experience. We've recorded it, and we're going to be putting it on YouTube as an archive, which is very kind of you, Aviv. Most often speakers don't want to be recorded. We can only be proud of such a lovely webinar. So really thank you. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, and thank you everyone. Yeah.
We will be having another training next Sunday. And so you can sign up the same way that you signed up to this one as well. I'm going to just briefly put my email in the chat in case anyone wants to reach out. And at the same time, let's just, wave out and say goodbye to each other and thank Aviv for his time. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Anton. I did send you an email. Please look for it.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks so much.